Welcome guys. In this video we're gonna look at how to graph points and lines, the basics of it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. It helps a lot. So what I have on the board here is a set of points. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and H. Each one of these ones in parentheses is called a point. The first one is called the first coordinate, and the second one is called the second coordinate. So usually we call them X and Y coordinates. The first one is called the X coordinate, and the second one is called the Y coordinate. So for example here, the first coordinate, the X coordinate is 0, and the Y coordinate is 2. Tell me what is here. The X coordinate is -2, and the Y coordinate is -2. So what is required when graphing a point is just to have a parenthesis with two numbers, just like this, the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. That's all you need to graph a point. So we're gonna graph a point in something called a plane. Usually this is called a plane because it has an X and a Y coordinates. So this one is sometimes they call it Cartesian coordinate, or they call it the X and Y coordinate, or just a plane, a two-dimensional plane, because we have two X and Y only. So to graph a point, all you have to do is, for example, take the X coordinate. For example, first take the X coordinate, which is 0. So always the middle is always called the origin, which is always 0. The X is always 0 and the Y is always 0. So for example, if I were required to plot 0, 0, I just have to put a dot in the middle, and you can call it origin O. So for 0. Okay, another requirement for a coordinate is to label it. So you have an X and a Y. That means that your X's go horizontally, your Y's go vertically. So the next step is to label each little line. Most likely, in most cases, at the beginning when you're learning this, you have to have even spaces in between each little line. Each little line represents a number. For example, here is X equals -1. Here X equals -2. Here is X equals -3. On the other side, so the left side is always negative, the right side is always positive for the X. So here will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here will be -4. When you go up and down, up is positive and down is negative. So this will be -1, -2, -3, and -4. Here will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now you have a complete Cartesian coordinate where you can plot any point. Any point that has these distances. For example, if you wanna plot 0, 10, 10 is all the way here. So we cannot plot it here. So you always have to choose a layout that you're able to plot every single point. That's one of the key steps when graphing. For these points, I chose 1, 2, 3 to 4, and going from -1 to -4, because if you look at all these points go from -2 to 2. That's the most they go to. There, I don't see any 3s, any 4s, but I put them just to teach you that they are there. Those lines are there, but you don't have to write them down. But it's good practice, so that way you learn how to plot points, or the next step we're gonna look at lines. So for the first point is gonna be 0, 2. So X is 0, the horizontal 0. Then we go up two positions. That will be 0, 2, and we call it A. So that B is going to be 2, 2. So that will be 2 here and 2 here. So that's about here. So I'm not going to write 0, 2 because I'm just going to write 8 next to it. Because we already labeled them here, all you have to do is write an A, and that will be fine. So that way we don't get all messy. So it will be 2, 2. You go here to 2 here. So that would be B. So you see how we're doing? We first grab an X, and then we go up or down on the Y. So okay, so first the next one will be -2. So we go horizontally to -2, and we go up 2 because it's positive. So up 2 is here. See, here is 2. So here will be C. D will be -2, -2. So that we go left -2, and we go down -2. That is D. E is 2, -2. So it will be 1, 2, -2. That's about here. That's E. So where do you think F goes? 2, 0. We go 1, 2, and 0. 0 is in the middle. So just leave it here. That would be F. Where is G? -2, 0. -2, -1, -2. And 0 is in the middle. So it will be here. So that would be G. Now the last point is 0, -1. So 0 is the origin, is in the middle in this line. So 0, and then we go -1. -1 is down, so 1, -1 here. So that would be H. So as you can see, we were able to plot all the points in one single graph, and that's what you mainly want to do when you're graphing lines and other kind of figures. So you wanna be able to plot as many the points needed or the lines needed to solve your problems or exercises. And the key to that is to choose the right layout. So that way the right dimensions of the layout here, the numbering, and that's pretty much it for points. Now let's go to lines. So we're gonna build up on lines. Now working with lines. Lines require 2 steps. One step is that you need to find 2 coordinates. 2 pairs of points. How do you find them? You create a table such as this one. Our lucky number is always going to be 0. Most of the time. So for X, always choose 0 most of the time, unless you see something that is going to be too difficult for you to solve. I'll tell you why 0, okay? The next X that I'm going to choose is going to be 2. Remember, for a line, you will only need 2 points. Once you have 2 points, you're set to go. All you have to do is graph it. So the first step before we do any graphing is we need to find the two pairs. So how do we find the 2 pairs? We have to plug in numbers in the equation that they give us. Some equations are harder than others, but look at this one. This one is simple. All you have to do is plug in 0 for X. So what happens when we plug in 0 for X? So we do 0 minus 1. What is 0 minus 1? -1. I chose 2 because look, I'm gonna get 2 minus 1 is 1. I could have chosen 1 minus 1, so instead of 2 I could have chosen 1, and I get 1 minus 1 is 0, but I chose 2. It doesn't matter, whatever points you choose that make it easier for you, that will be the better. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So we have 2 points now. We have 0, 1, and 2, 1. So knowing our basics of how to plot a point, we're gonna use that. We're gonna upgrade that technique. Okay. So we have an X and Y coordinate plane. So we have like this. We're gonna remember, choose a good layout. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so remember here is 0, always 0 in the middle. And you sometimes, once you get used to drawing lines, you don't have to write the numbering, because you'll know that they're all the same length in between each line. But for right now, let's put them. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, and -3. -1, -2, -3. 1, 2, -3. So what's our first point? 0, 1. Remember, all we have to do is plot the points first. That's the first thing we need to do. 0. So this will be -1. Remember, 0, -1. So 0, -1 is here. So that's our first point. We draw a point. Now we draw the second one. 2, 1. 2, 1. So we have 1, 2, 2, and then 1, because 1 is here. And the final step to graph a line is to actually graph the line that goes through these 2 points. Remember, don't forget to draw these arrows here, because that tells you that it is a line. So remember, when they give us an equation like this, a linear equation, all you have to do is write a table, pick 2 different values, get your y's, put them like this in pair notation, and then plot the points, and then draw a line through the points, and that should give you the solution to the exercises. And all kinds of equations they give you is always done like in a similar way. So this is very basic for future lessons. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next example. So the second is going to be, remember, sometimes some exercises are a little trickier than others. Sometimes you have to work with negative numbers, sometimes with positive numbers. The easiest is probably with positive numbers if you like positive numbers. But I'll tell you, sometimes you're gonna get fractions in the equation, so you have to work with fractions. And I'll teach, and I have one example, so that way you know how to work with those type of exercises. So let's do the first one that is just like the one before, so that way you start practicing. Let's do the next one. Y equals -4x plus 2. Okay, so we're gonna draw a table. We're gonna call it X and Y. Remember, I always choose 0 because look, if I were to plug in a number, I'm gonna get another number. So it's better if I work with 0, because if I plug in 0, I just eliminate this term, and you'll see why. Because look, -4 times 0 plus 2. -4 times 0 is always 0. So when you plug in 0, basically you eliminate this. And that's what we want. We want to eliminate as much as possible. So -4 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. So that's our first point. 0, 2. Okay, the next one, I'm going to make it easier. I'm going to call it 1. So then -4 times 1 plus 2. So now we do -4 times 1 is -4. -4 plus 2 is -2. So now we have the second point. It's going to be 1, -2. Now we can graph it. This is your Y, this is your X. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Remember, 1. You don't have to write these layouts, this numbering sometimes. Once you know that this is 1, 2, and 3, all you have to do is plot it. I'll show you that trick. So the first one is 0, 2. So it will be 0, 2. You put it here, and you can label it 0, 2. The next one is going to be 1, negative 2. 1, negative 2, because here is 1, negative 2. You can call it negative 1, negative 2. Remember, what's the last step? Draw a line over the points, a straight line. Remember, this is here, and draw the arrows. And that's the exercise. That's all you have to do for this one. You drew a line. Now let's work with fractions, because fractions are a little harder. So we have an x and a y. What's our equation now? Is going to be y equals 1/2 x. Remember, they all work the same way. It's just the type of operations you have to do. So we're always going to choose, remember, 0 is our lucky number, because we're going to have 1/2 times 0. 1/2 times 0, 0 times any number is 0. So now let's choose one more. I wouldn't choose 1 because 1/2 times 1 is 1/2, is 0.5. So I don't want that. I want to work with integers. So let's choose 2, because look what happens. What is half of 2? We're going to find out. 1/2 times 2. Half of 2 is 1/2 times 2 is 1. So we have 2 points now. 0, 0, and 2, 1. Now we draw our coordinate. This is your x, this is your y. So we have 2 points. Remember, this is the origin is always 0, so 0, 0 is here, so that will be, I'm going to write it down, 0, 0, and the next one is going to be 2, 1, 1, 2, and 1 is here, because look, this is 1, so here, this is 2, 1, so let's label it 2, 1. What's the final step? Draw a straight line through the points. Remember, don't forget the arrows, because that means line. And that's all you have to do. Remember, working with fractions, you just have to deal with them. Practice with fractions. Sometimes they're gonna give you fractions, but it's pretty much. Sometimes you get lucky if you put 0, because you get rid of that fraction thing. So that's one of our lucky numbers, 0, for our x. So that's all I wanted to show you on this video. So we learn how to graph points and lines. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.